Hey everyone, it's Ryan from Rocky Mountain Cigar Show here. Welcome to another live Thursday night show here at the Smokin' Studios at the Rocky Mountain Cigar Show. We've got one guest in back right now, still waiting on another. So I don't know if David's going to be able to make it tonight, but we do have another legend. Bradley Reith. I'm sure everybody in the cigar community already knows this guy, knows Zeal cigars. So we're going to dig through and ask him all sorts of sensitive questions. So we're going to get those cheeks a little rosy. But before we get to the guest part, want to go ahead and give the show sponsors that make this show possible every single week a huge shout out. We have BAMF Cigars, ROCF Cigars, Kristoff Cigars, Berger Cigars, Sagrado Cigars. We also have New Air Humidors as well. Micallef Cigars, pro family business, pro growth, pro cigar rights. Big Sky Cigars with their brand new release of the Blackfoot. Definitely going to want to go and check that out. We also have a Cornell and Diehl pipe tobacco. Now, we also have a fantastic new sponsor that I am so happy to bring aboard the show. They believe in the show. They believe in what we're trying to do here, and they believe in the audience, and that the audience will support them as they support this show. La Aurora Cigars. Thank you so much, La Aurora, for joining the show, partnering with me, and believing in what I'm trying to do here on the show and enjoying the show as well. We're going to have more from La Aurora in the next few months. Be on the lookout for that as well. So, all right. Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and dive in here. Dave has not joined the party yet, but let's go ahead and say hi. We've got Dan Thompson. Dan Thompson was on last week from Micallef. Oh, I'm on the stream. Okay. Dave, I don't think you're on that stream. I don't see you in the background, but let me fix that. Dave, if you're watching, I'm sending you the link via Messenger. I don't know what happened, but it is not bringing you in studio. So there is the link, Dave. If you would be so kind and jump on that, that would be fantastic. Cody Carroll, big shout out to Cody. Has done so much to help us with our charity event and this show, making the new intro, the new promos. Huge shout out to Cody Carroll. Thank you so much for all the support, and we'll see you tomorrow. And then huge shout out on to Bruce as well, who never seems to miss an episode. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Bruce. So we're going to go ahead and bring in Brad here. Let's see. Do we have, I felt like I heard somebody coming in, but how you doing, Brad?
Hey, what's up, guys? I am literally playing with this little bitty light bulb thing. I was sitting in the background waiting to come in. How you guys doing? Good to see you.
How you doing, my friend? You doing good?
I'm doing good, dude. We talk almost every other day. So I feel like of any cigar reviewer that is on YouTube or anywhere else, I know you the most, Ryan. And that is because of a habit that we both have when our families go to sleep, and we like to destroy people online and a little bit of COD action. So with that said, I mean, tonight, literally after the show, we're probably going to game. So
yes, we do partake in the war zone and a little bit of Call of Duty. So let's see. Yes, Dave, big shout out to Dave Garofalo at Two Guys in Cigar Authority. Waiting. David, I sent you the link via Facebook again. Check your Facebook Messenger and you'll have the new link. Just click on it and it should bring you right in. All right. So while we're working on getting Dave back in, so tell us really quickly. I want to kind of start out with the hell that you're living in right now in Arizona.
Well, we're actually shooting this from my bedroom because literally our AC went out in our back warehouse where my office is typically. So that went out, and then I couldn't do it back here. So it's 115 degrees outside. So it's so hot that you have to wear gloves driving your car. And hopefully that your AC works. My AC in my Denali doesn't work over 110 degrees. So it's just yeah. But I only have like a 10-minute commute, or 5 to 8 minute commute really to the office. So I live pretty close to the store, so it's pretty easy. It wasn't that bad. So, but it's super hot outside the city. So
yeah, no, that's ridiculous. 115 degrees.
115 degrees.
What the heck does your AC bill look like? Jeez.
Does
it turn off?
Not usually in the summer. It keeps going. At night it'll turn off. And I keep my house pretty cold, so I don't even know if you can hear the AC. We need a separate AC unit for our bedroom. Just because it's so hot. This is a new room, and so we still have to redo our we own an AC unit coming in from my house. It's just a weird thing, anyways. So I have a little AC unit here. I don't even know if you can hear it in the background, but it's great. I mean, I feel great. It's great inside, but it's hot as. I mean, I'd say my room's 75 degrees, but outside it's 100 and hell. It's horrible. It's just awful. You don't want to go outside.
Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah.
All right, so Dave.
Oh,
there he is.
How you doing, buddy? We've got everybody in the show now. Absolutely fantastic.
I was on the other link you sent me on last time. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
All right.
No worries at all. No worries at all. So we have Dave Garofalo on the show, everybody. Cigar Authority, Two Guys Smoke Shop. Dave, go ahead and say hello.
Hello, everybody. You hear me and see me okay? I don't know if this is coming over.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're coming through just fine.
Okay.
I know that before we kind of jump into it, want to kind of start here by kicking off with my first segment of the show. Now, I know Brad's not smoking a cigar because he's in the house. Dave, I don't know if you are, but he has a cigar.
Yes, I have a cigar.
I would like to do the What Are We Smoking Tonight segment, sponsored by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Dave, or Brad, I'll let you go first since you were showing.
Yeah, I won't be lighting it in my bedroom because I would not be married much longer if I did. And since it's 100 and hell outside, there's no way I'm going outside. 115 degrees, smoking a cigar. You got to be really committed or be in underwater doing that. I haven't figured out how to smoke a cigar underwater yet. Let me know. We'll be smoking later on, probably back in the shop, the Mas Igneous by Luciano. So it's I hear it pairs very well with wine, so I have some wine at the shop. So I'm going to pair this with a nice Emily Cabernet. So there we go.
Fantastic. Dave, what are you smoking?
I am smoking a Garofalo because I'm in the Garofalo house and we can smoke in our house. Cigars are what built this place, so that's what I'm smoking. It is not coming. You hear me fine, right? Because it's not coming through my headset. So I'm talking to the camera, I guess, apparently.
Yep,
yeah, we can hear you.
Through just fine.
Okay. All right, I'm going to live with this. If it's okay with you, I'm going to go with this.
Absolutely. You chasing it down with anything, Dave?
I got a water, but I have a Crown Royal salted caramel.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Oh, it's so good.
That's good.
It's really good.
Well, tonight I am smoking the the Stillwell Star Holiday 2022 from Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, and I am pairing it with a gin called Dreamstream, which is a barrel-aged gin put out by Axe and the Oak Distillery here in Colorado Springs. It's the only gin that I'm actually a fan of. I don't know where Dave went, but I assume he's... Oh, there he is. You back, Dave?
Yep, I'm good.
Perfect. Okay, so thank you all very much. And we're off to a little bit of a rocky start. We're going to get everything back on track. So there's actually a reason why I brought in Dave and Brad to the show right after PCA. And I really wanted this to be a lounge talk episode. And what I mean by that is both of you all are media in your own right. Both of you have very successful shops. and both of you are very much entrenched in the cigar world and know a lot of the insider stuff. And Dave, I know, went to PCA. And what I really want to kind of talk about with the show here is you're on opposite ends of the country. What does the lounge experience look like completely out of COVID? What are your thoughts on the cigar industry? Is it going to kind of retract a little bit in the industry, or is it going to be the boom continues? Do you see stuff? So I want to kind of use this show tonight to focus on what your guys' thoughts are, honestly, around where you see the cigar industry the next several years after a big boom. So, Dave, I would like to start with you. And first off, let's go through what your thoughts of PCA was this year.
Okay, Brad, you went to PCA also?
No, too busy, man. Too busy. I was down here.
All right. All right. So,
Dave, I've never met you before. Just so you know, I don't know if you know who I am. I know who you are. Big fan of you, man. Just so you know.
You too. You too.
Okay.
And
okay.
I would say I didn't see you there. That's because you weren't there. PCA was good. That was the best show for a lot of years. I'd say you got to go back into like 2015, 14 or something for the size of the amount of people who were there. And I know some manufacturers say differently, but I saw some of the numbers of what it is. I saw the lines of people to come in. The manufacturers at their booth, they don't necessarily know what the other side looks like. I kind of play host to a lot of different aspects of the cigar industry. It was a great show. It was a big comeback. After 2015, 16, it started to go downhill. 17, 18, 19 was a train wreck. 20 never happened. 21 came back, but kind of shitty. Last year was good. This year was even better. So the industry is coming off of a boom. There's no doubt about it. People talk about the boom of the 90s, which was tremendous. I was there for that. This was another boom, a different kind of boom. And a better boom, to be honest with you. A better boom because it was consumption. Lots of people consuming cigars that were already cigar smokers, not knowing that the guy next door, that you're in the yard because the big lockdown happened. We did build new cigar smokers at the same time that was going on. Another thing to notice between the two booms was the first boom in the 90s was Hollywood. Hollywood was a big part of it. And you had like Arnold Schwarzenegger smoking cigars and David Letterman and people like that got on. But here at this show that just happened, a lot of celebrities that were in there and sports athletes, actors, TV stars, all kinds of things like that, which is another great sign. These people are not afraid to be seen with a cigar, which is almost accepting, right? So that happened also. So honestly, with the numbers of what's going on, tremendous sales in during the COVID years. Consumption, like I say, was up, and it hit a plateau. I would say probably mid-year last year. And I'm a really goofy guy when it comes to numbers. I track everything. And I could see that, okay, it was leveling off. And, it's either goes up or goes down. It dropped about 3%. Now, I look at numbers of imports that come in. They were up dramatically, but they were up dramatically in 1997 when the boom was over also. That is a manufacturer thinking that it's not over and still bringing it in. And then some of them will say, oh, I was able to sell it also. So they had to fill the stores, but it only counts if it comes off the retailer shelves.
Yes, that's true.
The kind it's sold, and only us retailers know when it's sold, and they should listen to the retailers to what's going on. The show was full of $20 and up cigars, which I think is a problem. The economy,
I think so too.
Also. And they're a couple of years behind on that. They started producing these cigars 2 years ago, right? By the time the cigar comes out, the packaging and everything that goes along with it. So these ideas of these $20 and up, $100 and up, $300 and up per cigar, Oliva, for instance, out of their minds. I wish them luck with it, but I'm not part of it. And, I have a lot of retail friends that say to me, you can bring them in and you can probably sell them. And I sell cigars for a living. I can probably sell them, but I'm concerned about buyer's remorse at that point.
For sure.
I sell the cigar to the customer, and the customer is not going to have a $300 experience. Unless there's some magic dust in it. I don't know what it is, but it's not going to be a $300 experience, and they're going to feel like they got ripped off. And I don't want that person that ripped them off to be me. Yes, I could make a quick buck, and that's what some of the manufacturers are thinking too. There's no rhyme or reason for a cigar at that price. And if
it's not worth it.
Nope. And if we give into it and we do it, they're going to keep doing it. So I decided not to be part of that for now. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong. And it would be beneficial to me if that ended up happening. But for this year, I'm not part of it. Despite that, retailers went into that trade show, and maybe I am wrong that I'm the only one that's a little bit down from last year, but I am 6 straight months, single digits, but I'm down. But I'm also down with price increases that happened. So keep that in mind. If the average price increase was 5 or 6%, which is what it was, and I'm down 3%, that's 8% for units sold. If we're assuming every cigar sold for that price that it sold before. So there's a lot of ways to look at it. I don't want to be ho-hum. I'm all about good. I hope the industry does great. Raising tides raise all ships. But you're asking the question. I'm giving you the honest answer. I think the boom is over, and I think the economy is starting to affect goods that people don't need, which unfortunately is cigars. If you're going to buy groceries for the family or cigars, you got to go groceries, right? Or you're going to buy cheap cigars.
No, I agree. No, Dave, I agree with you. And Brad, we're coming to you with the same question outside of PCA, but where you think about the boom. But before I do, Dave, last time you were on the show, you had said when I asked you, what would you tell lounge owners to do right now? With inventory and ordering, how should you order? And you had made a comment along the lines of, I would tell them to cancel all the back orders and start fresh. Do you still agree and stand by that statement?
Yeah. How long ago was that I said that?
About a year ago.
Wow.
About a year ago.
So looking into the crystal ball, man, I was a genius. I got to tell you, if that was a year ago that I said that. Previous to that, I was telling everybody buy, because you'd order 10 boxes of cigars and you'd get 2. So you needed to overbuy, which I did. My inventory right now is it's never been so high from buying while I could during the boom that was going on. But as I see it start slowing down, especially with these expensive cigars, listen, you're going to take a chance with the expensive cigar, especially if it's a brand that is an unknown, which was scary of some of these new manufacturers coming in with $20 cigars. Listen, there was a $100 Rocky Patel. Hey, it's Rocky Patel. If anything is going to sell, he's going to be able to sell his $100 cigar. I'm not buying it, but he's got a chance of doing it. Oliva 300. I think it's just so ridiculous of what it is. But, a brand new company, and these guys are on a folding table, and they have, what do these cigars go for? He's like $27. And I'm like, wow. Somebody gave you a bill of goods that I just don't see this happening. And I hope they succeed and they're there at the show next year. I don't think my crystal ball says they won't even be there next year. So what happens to those cigars? Those cigars end up going to a deep discount mail order house, and then they're sold off at maybe $5 a piece. And you, Mr. Retailer, paid a lot more than that for that cigar. And now what happens? You're sitting on expensive inventory that's being closed out everywhere around you. I hope you only have a little bit of it, because you can buy more of the unknown cigar for sure. Maybe somebody like Rocky Patel said, I'm only making 1,000 boxes of these, and they'll be gone, and you say, okay, I'm going to do it because it's going to be gone. Okay, but certainly the unknown is very, very risky.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So, Brad, what's your thoughts on now? For anybody that doesn't know who Brad's been in the cigar review, social media, heavily involved for what now, 8-10 years?
I'd like to think I started it. That's all I want to say. I don't think I was the one who started the whole thing. Let me just say this. I got Garofalo over there spitting out facts left and right about cigar stuff. I'm going to start to some facts here. The fact of the matter is, when I walked into this industry about 8 or 9 years ago, it was antiquated when it came to social media and everything else like that. It has since now gotten very, very, very good about that. That kickoff to that, I was one of the forerunners with another guy whose name won't be mentioned in my presence. But there's a sense of where what we did allowed a certain audience, by nature of the fact that Dave's concerned about, that blue collar guy that thinks that cigars are only for rich people. Okay, that guy. And we saw every reviewer that was out there, cigar aficionado and everybody. And that's not to throw any shade at him or anything like that, but everybody just was in, collars and, and they had, suits on and everything else like that. We wanted to do something different. So we did, and it took off like gangbusters. And as a result of that, we got a big social media. Pretty amazing. So, I would say that now there's so many players in the social media presence that is kind of crazy. I mean, it's kind of crazy. There's a lot of guys there, but I'm not like Garofalo, man. Garofalo, you've been in this thing for 25, 30 years, right?
38.
38. See, geez, Pete, man.
Well, you know what though, too, Brad, and we're gonna get to this, everybody. Mm-hmm. After Brad goes tells us what he thinks about the boom and pre-boom. Mm-hmm. Garofalo is now used in a course on marketing, and we're going to get to that.
That's awesome.
His book is now, he is not just an author, but he is now an educator / author in that sense. So we'll get to that. But Brad, so you've been in this industry 8-9 years.
Hey, shut up. Can I talk? Let's go. Yes, Let me talk a little bit. God, I'm on a fucking show. Let's go.
Go.
Goodness, Ryan, we're buddies. Shut up. Let me talk. Anyways, so here's my point is, I think Garofalo is the guy that you really want to talk to when it comes. Not that he wouldn't know marketing. Obviously, he does. If you got a book out and everything else like that, but books are like something else that everyone's got one and everyone stinks, right? So the aspect of the booms and the trends and everything else like that, I don't know. I wasn't around for the booms. I experienced it as a smoker. Obviously, I started smoking in the 90s with the boom, so that's when I started getting the cigars. And so as a result, I mean, I was just part of that boom. I wasn't in the industry. I've only been in the industry about 8 or 9 years. So what I've seen in the 8 or 9 years since I've been in the industry has been a tremendous jump up in marketing, a tremendous jump up in video, social marketing, and what have you. That's been really encouraging and very depressing at the same time, meaning like there's people out there that are really good, very knowledgeable, and very honest about what they do. Then there's people out there who are just pure marketers, and they don't care about what they're marketing. They're just marketing a product. And so for somebody like me who's passionate about what I do, not only how I present, but what I'm actually smoking and what I'm tasting and so on and so forth. And I'm particularly passionate about the blue collar guy who works all day at a job, wants to come back, sit back and smoke a cigar for, let's say, somewhere between realistically $8 to $12. And he wants to see that market piece of the industry grow. I see it shrinking exactly what David said. You've got really, really cheap bundles, and then you got really, really expensive things like growing and people trying to put stuff out continually. If I had a dime for every single person who came into every single rep that came into my shop and said, here, I said, what's the price? First thing I say, what's the price point? What's the price point? And they're like, well, yeah, it's a good cigar. I don't care if it's a good cigar. I don't care if it's a good cigar. It's a good cigar. It's a really good cigar. I'm like, no. See, the thing about a good cigar, it's all relative. We all know this. Like, it's some people like certain cigars, some people like other cigars. And it's $20 or it's $25. Well, that's a little more, but I'm telling you what, that $8 to $12 range right there, there's a lot of good cigars in that range. I think it's really shrinking, like Dave said. And so I don't know. I mean, as far as the boom is concerned, so we're in Phoenix. Dave, where are you guys at?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. So we're in Phoenix, and Phoenix has the highest rate of inflation of anywhere in the country. So like it hit us more than anything. It's like 11 or 12% where we are. So it's just crazy. And we're the fastest growing city in America. So we have Scottsdale and North Phoenix where I live, absolutely booming like crazy. So there's people coming to us continually, just finding out who we are, and they're like, "Oh, this is great. This is awesome." But we got a lot of guys that follow us and watch us that are like exactly what Dave said. They're like, gas tank or cigar box. Which one are you going to get? You know, and a lot of these guys that are, all American, good old boys, man, they're driving the big old trucks. That gas tank's, the price of a cigar box, So, I mean, when it comes down to it, I think that's part of what's going on. And for us in our niche, that's why we've been so successful with finding different manufacturers that we work with and then branding the cigar ourselves without necessarily bands, but doing like a marketing campaign around them. And we really do certain ones made for us and everything else like that. So I think, and that range is even cheaper. That range is anywhere between like $6 to $8. So in that range, we're finding our sweet spot, and we sell those cigars, quite frankly, 9 to 1 in our shop. So people come into our shop and get our cigars or Zeal house brands, and but they also get all the other ones, the Camachos, Davidoffs, everything else like that. So I mean, it's just interesting because it's interesting to hear from a guy who's been in the industry for so long. I don't feel worthy to be on the podcast with you, man, to be honest with you, because you've been in here so long and everything. Don't get me wrong, I'm a cocky punk, but like the reality is you honestly know this industry way more than anyone younger than I do it. And most guys my age or younger that haven't been in it very long, they're pretending like they know everything, and they don't. They really don't. And so I'm kind of like, okay, how do we do this and how do we do that? And I ask guys, I have 4 or 5 guys around me like you that I ask questions about. I'm like, hey, what about this? And what about that? How did you do this? How did you do that? And I listen to them because that intergenerational knowledge is deeply important to success in any kind of industry, much less an industry where only 3% of people smoke it, right? So I think it's very, very important. So, but yeah, so I mean, obviously we're down, and I think everyone's been down in general because of the economy. We know that from reps we talk to, manufacturers we talk to, and everything else like that. Not to mention, there's still, I think one of the things that if I have a gripe or a bone to pick, I hear from some manufacturers there's still, since COVID, they're still trying to get back to normal down in Nicaragua, Honduras, and Dominican Republic. And see, because I'm not there and I don't see that, I'm taking their word for it. But then again, I hear from other people like, that's just a bunch of bunk. Now then you don't know if that's manufacturers talking about each other or if like just friendly competitor stuff, or like, is that really the case? Because I can tell you what, from one person, one certain manufacturer, it took 9 months to get a cigar. 9 months. 9 months. I kid you not, it was so infuriating when it came in. I'm like, hey, thanks, man. All those people that want a cigar are gone. It doesn't matter. All those people that are waiting on a cigar, they're gone. So when I'm calling them back, hey, by the way, your cigar is back in. Oh, yeah, thanks, 9 months later. And I'm not saying that's everybody, but there are some people that happens to. Some things are in really high demand. And I don't think I'm as astute as Dave at finding like what the trends are and who's going to want what cigar, as far as that's concerned. But our shop in particular hits that $8 to $12 to $15 range really, really well. And we do have cigars above it and cigars below it. But I think that $8 to $12 range that's our bread and butter, to be quite frank.
Well, yeah, because your shop focuses heavily on, if there's a cigar shop that I know personally that's bringing back the shop cigar, the shop blend, it is Zeal Cigars.
So, we have 42 different ones.
Yeah, and they range from the what you said, the $5 to $8 range predominantly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So Dave, are you, as you're at PCA, you're seeing the $20, $30 plus cigars, $100 cigars? Would you say that you'll probably start to see more lounges like Brad's that'll more willing to bring in a lounge cigar, a shop cigar at that lower price point?
Well, on my podcast, I'm actually doing a show on it this week, which is house brands and generic brands. We're doing a whole thing on it. I did a lot of investigating on it because I know in the like soap industry, it's generic soap, I follow the trends of everything, not just cigars, just to see what's happening. And generic products in supermarkets are at an all-time high. They're growing like dramatically. Therefore, it should happen on all products, right? And I, just like you, I have my house brand, Dos Hombres, which we made in 1989. We have, as low as $3 a cigar, as high as $5 a cigar. And we sell, it's our biggest seller by far, and we sell tons of it, and we always did. And during the last crash that happened, I'm not saying the cigar boom, but the last financial crash, which was 2007, a financial crash happened at the end of 2007. We saw it before the rest of the world, we in the cigar industry, because we have a product that you don't need, and they stopped that. And if it wasn't for my house brand, I probably would have been closed, because at least there was an option for somebody to still smoke and just spend a few dollars as opposed to spend $10. Looking around that show, there was some smart retailers and smart manufacturers that saw this and listened to other retailers. And that's important for a manufacturer to listen to a retailer. Why would you not? It's free. You call me up and you say, hey, what's going on? What are the trends? How's it look in your store? And you say, hey, everybody is looking for $8 cigars all of a sudden. So you make one. So the folks at Micallef made Micallef Black. $7, $8 cigar. Tremendous, by the way. It was the bargain of the show. And I said to them early on in the show, this is it. This is the product. And at the end of the show, I said, how did it go? And they said, we never seen anything like it. So if that doesn't tell you something, now I want to ask some of the $100 players, how did it go? Well, without naming names, one of the $100 players said, you know what, if you buy these cigars, we're going to give you X amount of boxes of the $100 cigar for free. So the price of the $100 cigar now is free.
Oh,
to the
my
retailer.
gosh.
So that happened pretty damn fast.
Wow.
And,
Well, yeah, because no one's going to buy it.
Right.
Come
So
on,
nobody's
man.
buying it. You don't give it
Yeah.
away for free because it's
Right,
in high
right.
demand. You give it away for free because it's not selling, right? We're not stupid.
But
Right,
Dave,
right.
Dave, when somebody tells you I'll give it to you for free, is it really $100 cigar at that point? Like
Exactly.
I can't imagine. I mean, Brad, am I wrong? Like, I can't imagine them like Sony saying, "Hey, buy the Discman, and we're going to give you a 75-inch TV for free." You know, like
I think we all know. I think Dave knows for sure. I think I'm pretty privileged to some information in the background, which I think most people that have been in the industry for a while know. And that is, we all know how much it really costs to get into cigars and do cigars and everything else like that. We understand the cost involved with it. We also know there's an art form to it and everything else like that, and we have respect for that form. So when you know all the costs involved with it, and then it seems that you're inflating the cost to take advantage of consumers whose egos will go way ahead of them and want to buy these $100 cigars or $200 or $300, which is all their prerogative. They can do that if they want. And you're right, somebody's going to meet that demand. But when you start saying things like, I'll give you, the $100 cigar, it really cheapens, let's say the guy that, I mean, he's a family guy. It's a night out with the boys. He goes into a cigar lounge. And he goes, I want your best cigar. It's the $100 cigar we're talking about, right? He goes and grabs a $100 cigar and he smokes a $100 cigar, and his buddy's smoking a leaf that costs $10. And the guy in the leaf is talking about all the notes. This other guy's smoking a $100 cigar. He's like, I don't know, And then the guy thinks he hears that somebody got it for free. I just, it sits wrong with everybody at that point.
Yeah,
it really does. It really does. So I would never give away a cigar at that price point for free unless it was some kind of major contest, you're doing or something like that.
Right,
Make it worth it. Right. So,
so let me ask this to both of you. Brad, what is the average selling price cigar at Zeal? If you were to
probably
give
12.
an average.
10. That's hard because we sell a tremendous amount of house brands. The average ticket is like, I'm trying to break it down for a cigar. That's really hard. It'd probably be somewhere between $8 and $10 because we sell so many house brands.
What would you say, Dave? The average cigar at Two Guys?
Yeah, $8 on the high end. That it would average out to $8 on the high end. Listen, do I want to sell expensive cigars? And we're a Davidoff account and you know, Atabay and all that stuff. I want nice if somebody comes in and buys a box of those. But, you know, I'm in New Hampshire. I'm not in New York City. And New York City is a whole thing with tax and all that stuff that happens anyway. But, you know, I get the average guy also, you know, no suit and tie in our shop for sure.
Sure.
The average guy. And I got three shops, which is interesting because I can test each one of them separately. They're 30 miles away from each other. So we can see what happens. And the same thing happens. And I don't care if you're in Phoenix, Arizona, which is a high-end place, or you're in New Hampshire, the answer is going to be $8 right now. You know, maybe somebody that's in a tourist spot where it's a vacation place and the guy goes for more because I'm on vacation, I'm going to treat myself. But the person that works there, the regular guy that's buying a cigar is buying an $8 cigar average. And that's up from a couple of years ago where it was $7.
Yeah.
Well, then, so let me ask you. So, when retailers come into your store, Brad, and you have the opportunity to talk to the actual owner, if it's a smaller place, if somebody approaches you, or if somebody approaches you and says, "Hey, I'm looking to start a brand. I want it to be X amount." What type of, as a retailer and a consumer, what type of advice do you give them around pricing? Because everybody loves their own baby more than everybody else's. And I'm sure everybody would love to sell a $300 cigar, but they can't. So where do you tell people, hey, this is really where this needs to be?
So, yeah, there's a couple of people who've started brands have asked me some questions like that. You know, hey, this is part of it. Part of what I tell them is, I mean, if you price it over $10, you're in a whole different category. You just are from the average cigar smoker, because there's so many people out there that, I mean, because we're in cigars, we know so many people that smoke cigars, and there's so many good cigars under $10. There's a lot of good cigars under $10 in that 10 to 15 range. There's some really good cigars. There really is. So I think I tell them, you know, if you hit the $8 price point, if you can make it between $6 and $8, and it's a banging good cigar, you're gonna be a rich man. But I think the hard part of it is, unless the person comes from a passion for the product, a passion for blending, and he's got the whole industry in his head, and he understands how to do that. I see some people just want to just market this. They like smoking cigars, so they start a brand, you know. And I don't know that that's really the best way to do it. Versus like the Guy Ferrari thing, who does the whole thing with Espinosa. Like, he likes cigars, so he went with Espinosa. That's the best way to do it, versus going to start your own brand. Sure. I'd say probably I tell them to keep it to $6 to $7, but I'm not privileged to all that information in the back end of, like, you know, what you can get as far as the tobacco, as far as the wrappers available, the binders, the actual filler tobacco. I'm not privileged to all that information. I'm going on what my factories tell me, and then what good friends that work in the factory correct them on, if that makes sense. You know, so I mean, as a result, like, my conversations are very, very different from that. But if there's a guy coming in and he wanted to start his own cigar brand, you'd have to be one hell of a marketer right now to make anything. I mean, really big marketer, viral type marketer, and you'd have to get the next generation talking about it, which is really huge. I mean, our number one viewer, we have 160,000 people that watch our YouTube. Our number one demographic is guys 21 to 20, or it's 21 to 35. That's our number one demographic, and that's younger than me.
Those guys don't have $100 for a cigar. I mean,
yeah, not to put on cigars, no. But
oh, Brad, we lost you.
Yeah.
Brad. I think there we go. Brad, repeat what you just said. We lost you for a sec.
I said that about the next generation of smokers. That one.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next generation of smokers, I think, will really tell the tale because it's a whole different way of smoking cigars. It's a whole different like, it's very different when you see. I have a lot of young people coming to my shop. I mean, tremendous amounts of like college grads, young people, 21, just turned 21. They're coming in, and they're coming in with their friends. So for me, how they find out about cigars, how they're informed about cigars, and everything else like that is very different because I was used to kind of myself and my age, things and the 50-somethings out there. Now we got 20-somethings and 30-somethings coming in the shop, and they're how they get into cigars, how they watch cigars, and everything like that is different than I did. So trying to create content and having the next generation be as ferocious buyers as the last two generations have. I'm talking the boomers and the Xers, the millennials and the Gen Zers. That's going to be really interesting in the future because I wonder, with all the social pressure and the social tributes they give to everything else out there, I think that could be a major thing for us. Is that, I mean, we've already been under attack by so many different, that truth campaign, that bogus truth campaign, throw cigars in it, from everything going on. I mean, and that's the issue is the younger generation. Are they going to connect with how we sell cigars, the price point we sell cigars at, and everything else like that? We really should do a good case study for you to do, Dave, sometime. I used to work for Hyundai. I was the service manager for Hyundai, and they wanted to integrate all of their stuff for the next generation, and so that's why they started making their cars the way that they did. And they also, got some people from Honda to do it. So that's why everything changed. But I think that was really interesting because they looked down. They had guys at the top looking down the line, going, we're known as this. We want to be different. We want to reach this generation. How do we do this and make smoking attractive? I think one of the ways you do it, one of the big ways to do that, is to make it affordable. And keep it affordable. I think that's one of the things. And if a young man at 24 years old, who just graduated college, got his first job, wants to celebrate it with his first cigar, and it's $100 cigar, he may, even if you have that around and you sell him that $100 cigar, he thinks, I really enjoyed that experience, but I don't want to go back and spend $100, right? I don't want to go back and spend $100. But if you catch him on like a good $8, My Father or something else, or even one of your house brands that's really good, he's like, oh, this is only $6, $7, $8. This is very, very doable. And so I think that's part of what we're trying to hit for the next generation. That's what we're doing as far as our reverse engineering of where we are now to how we get to where we want to go, with the younger generation in particular.
No, absolutely. And, to your point, I always tell people, if they're going to give me a cigar, don't ever tell me the price of it if I don't know the cigar. Because in my head, they're like, it's $60, I'm going to go, I'm expecting like the world. Yeah. I'm going to almost climax during this thing, right? And then like, if they don't tell me it, then I can sit there and I can enjoy it for what it is and then make that evaluation. In fact, I was listening to somebody talk about the expense of things, and he was talking about the expensive scotches and bourbons and this and that. And he said, what really made me think one day is I had somebody tell me this was $100 glass of bourbon or whatever, scotch. And he's like, I drank it and goes, this was absolutely incredible. He goes, why is it incredible? He goes, it's so smooth. He goes, it's $20 glass of scotch. Now, you only thought it was so incredible because you thought it was $100. Or was it really that incredible? And to that point, it's the same with cigars. Is a $100 cigar, when you are a cigar smoker, not the once in a while, is that really going to blow your mind? I don't think so. But Dave, same question to you around pricing and where you think the industry really needs to be at, or if you agree with Brad entirely.
I do agree with Brad entirely, and it's great to have a couple of different retailers on, because everything he's saying, my head's bobbing up and down. He actually knows what he's talking about. If he's paying attention, which he is paying attention and seeing that the younger consumer wants to be in this game, and the guy in his 20s is going to get into 30s. When he gets into about 35, he becomes a heavy user on cigars. He started a family now, and his time is not going to concerts and blowing his money or whatever. It's going to be go to the cigar store. I lived it through probably 4 times that this has happened, of this watching this 20-something-year-old become mid-30s, become a heavy user on it. But if we're trying to bring him in as a heavy user at in his 20s on expensive cigars, he cannot become that. So now he's going to take up a different hobby, maybe microbrew beers or whatever that hobby is going to be, as opposed to cigars. So, you know, a non-foresight retailer may try to go get that consumer and get him on a $20 cigar to make a few bucks extra on the guy, when the fact of the matter is you're setting him up to lose that customer, or possibly lose them to online deep discounters, $3 crappy cigars, which after a while he'll say, I don't even like cigars because I'm that shot-filled crappy stuff, or gas station cigars, which, by the way, I saw your video on gas station cigars, which was the best ever.
He watches your stuff.
Yeah, I do. Of course I do. I just can't get enough of all this stuff. And, but I want to build the next generation of cigar smokers, and I look at these actions, including Cuba, of the crazy prices that Cuba did. They're doing this on a worldwide level, actually ruin the next generation of cigar smokers because it's out of reach. And if you think you can make a living off all the rich people, there's not enough rich people to do it, unfortunately. So it never really was like, you know, they talk about the 30s and stuff like that, of maybe it was the bank president that smoked cigars, and that's not the case. They sold millions and millions of cigars in those days. Before the 60s was the heyday of cigars, when it was, you know, 500-600 million cigars coming in or making cigars in the United States. They were cheaper cigars. You go into the 30s, remember the good 5-cent cigar, right? When cigars went from 5 cents to 6 cents, and you can talk to Eric Newman on this, whose family went through generations, and that's how I learned. I learned from the generation before me. And when they went from 5 to 6 cents, they almost went bankrupt. Their company almost went bankrupt because nobody would have it. When
that extra 1 penny?
Yep. And that 1 penny now maybe becomes $1. So you got an $8, $9 cigar. You go in the $10.50 now. Let me tell you, that person walks up to the cigar, and it used to be in the $9 range, and now it's in the $10 range. The psychology that goes on at that point, you'll see them reach their hand, look at it, and then move on at that point. I watch this stuff that happens. And say exactly what Brad said is, you're going to go over $10. You better have something there, and you're using the best tobacco, and you have the best blend. That's what every single company says to us, that we're using the best tobacco. Where's the shit tobacco? If everybody's using the best tobacco, where is the shitty tobacco? It's you know, it's just ridiculous.
Nobody says we're using shitty tobacco. You know, yeah, exactly.
You know, to your point, Dave, that's literally why everything is $9.99.
Yes.
$19.99. It's $10, but it's visually under $10.
Oh, yes. 100%.
Even gas, who goes down to the 94th of a cent.
That's right.
Yeah. It's that
1/10 of a penny
idea. So, being that both of you are such great marketers in your own right, with your own brands, and in opposite ends of the country, Dave, I'll start with you. What is marketing changed? How has marketing changed since you got into the industry in your area to what you have to do now? And if you don't market, do you even have a shot?
You don't. You need experience in your cigar shop. They need to have a little experience when they come in. It should be a clean shop, clean bathrooms, everything like that, which would be normal. and some sort of experience. They want to learn as it goes on. They want selection. Just carrying the same old brand all the time. We can see the dramatic change that's happened. Things that were my number one cigar brand 10 years ago, I don't even carry any longer. These things flip around so quick. And if you think about this historic brands that are out there, what's the last historic brand that lasted generations? It's a long time ago. They end up changing. The biggest change ever that happened was the internet. Oh my God, when that happened, it was like, holy shit. And then this social media thing that goes on changed everything also. And here I am getting older as this thing is happening and saying, okay, what's going on? I was the second cigar company to have buying online. Holtz was the first one in Philadelphia. I was the second one to get out there. And here was the online tip. There were no people buying online, but there we were. And we watched that go. Then social media comes up, and it's like, okay, get on the chat rooms at that time, which was J.C. Newman and Fuente started that whole thing, and it moves up from there. Brad, we're talking about the trade show. There were probably more media, if that's what you want to call it, at the trade show than there maybe was retailers. That's how many there were. Any TikToker, anybody who did any sort of thing, they were there. And, if that's what you want to call them, it's like unfair to media to call some of this stuff media, to be honest with you. But it was there. You couldn't help but see it with certain manufacturers having, talks with the media every 30 minutes for 3.5 days. We don't want to meet with any retailers. It's just media. And I'm like, wow, these folks got their heads on backwards as far as I'm concerned.
Oh my God, they
Dude,
actually said that?
Dude, I'm 100% with you on that, Dave.
The reason why they're even meeting with the media is because of guys like you and Brad.
Yeah.
So, Brad, I didn't mean to interrupt. Please continue.
Yeah. Oh, what was I saying? I forgot. I'm sorry. My wife walked in and said hi, and I was dumbstruck because she's so beautiful.
No, listen, Brad. Me and you are gonna we got to get together one of these days anyway. Because,
yeah, man.
There's nothing like it because we're talking the same exact game that's out there, and almost it feels good when you said some of the things you said that I said, okay, I'm not alone here. I like to talk to other retailers because sometimes I think I'm crazy. And I have to hear it from somebody else because I see these absurd things that go on. Listen, I'm part of the media. I have a podcast. I do stuff too. But, I'm trying to better the cigar industry at the same time.
So here's something about the social media stuff. First off, social media is the devil. I'll say that. It's so weird. I've gone over it. I use it. It's all for my business and everything else like that. I remember when Facebook came out. Dave's here as well. So, we're older than Google. We remember the internet being invented. We remember all these things. So, I remember. How old are you, Ryan? You're like 30 something.
I'm almost 40. I'm 38.
Oh, okay. You remember those things.
I was born pre-internet. Well, pre-WW.
Yeah, you didn't have to sit there and wait for AOL to log on or anything else like that, you young buck. You're fine.
No, I did. Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh, that was horrible.
Terrible. 56K.
So as things have progressed, what you see in society in general is that marketing is like the TikTok stuff. It's silly. I say it this way. I used to work with somebody who said this, and I think what he said was brilliantly timely. He said that social media, what it is the 8th grader running down the hall with his hair caught on fire saying, "Look at me." And he's 100% right, because that's what social media is. The ones that get the views and everything, that's what's true. But the problem is, not everybody wants to stay in 8th grade forever. And men in particular, which is the majority of our industry, I'm not trying to isolate the women, but inevitably I might be. Here's the fact. Most guys who smoke cigars don't really appreciate immaturity, okay? Particularly as you grow. And so we like cutting up with ourselves, but there's a certain, I don't know, what's the word? respect level. I mean, it's I don't know, man. I'm an old dumb jock, so I'm just gonna say it this way. You don't go and spit on the other team's bus, before you play them or anything. You don't down talk the other team or anything else like that. And I think what happens in social media, because it generates this like drama, if you would, that starts playing into the industry. It's weird, it like Half Wheeled starts producing like things like what's the one about all the feuds between different people. I'm like, that's okay. First off, we say we're a family. Shut up and keep that in between. Like me and my brother can fight, but you guys can't fight. You can't. Don't tell anyone about it. If Dave and I got a problem, Dave and I will talk about it and cuss each other out off the show. We're not going to air that out on video. That's what families do. But what social media has created is this weird like platform where people get dramatic about nothing, and so you got to be dramatic about cigars. You don't have to. They're meant to be calming and enjoyable and everything else like that. Not dramatic, If I want to watch dramatic cigar smoker, I'll watch Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that. That's drama, So in that regard, I think social media has really handicapped a lot of people from being taken serious. And so when people ask me about other cigar reviewers or like, hey, do you know that guy? Does he know what he's talking about? I'm like, well, yeah. And immediately it goes to guys like Dave and I, and this is huge. They go, well, I trust you because you're in it. You're doing it. You're in the industry. You're buying this stuff. You're selling stuff. You have to make money on this. You're tasting this.
Yeah.
And as an influencer or YouTube guy or whatever,
yeah.
I know it's so stupid. It's overused now, but we all do have influence. As that, if we're off, it echoes into all of our future and all of our past, and it gives credit to or takes credit away from anything that we said. So that's why it's so important for us to be mature on social media and enjoyable on social media and present something that's, I'm not trying to say family friendly. I just say like respectable, dude, like respectable stuff. And so when I see all the media stuff like that, I immediately did not like that. I remember they were talking about that a couple of years ago with the PCA thing going around, letting in media and stuff like that. And I thought the thing I did like about the show, one of the reasons I don't go is kind of because of that. The other reason is I'm just real busy. The other reason is I think I'd like to get the cigar before the media does. I'd like to have the conversation with the manufacturer before the media does. I'd like to have that with you, with all my brothers in the retail industry before they get it. Because what makes them so special, we're the ones actually buying the product. We're the ones actually smoking it and telling you our experience, and we're the experts, quite frankly, in our field. So, and that's not to say that there's not a place for the social media and everything else like that, but the thing I'm worried about in the future in particular is that there's been people in our industry that have elevated silliness and immaturity to a huge level, in our industry. And I'm like, man, this is kind of crazy. That's just not even, and it's like the guy who you did Stoop. Remember Stoop? Remember young days? Like we were real young, and thank God there wasn't cell phones then. Those kind of things. So, I mean, like there'll be a point where the things that you do and put on the internet are eternal. They're always going to be there. That's why it's important to like when you engage with social media as a retailer and as somebody who's in the cigar industry to do so with a respect and understanding like. We're trying to put something out there really great for everyone to enjoy because we want to invite people into this wonderful, wonderful lifestyle that we've all adopted and we really like. It's our livelihood and it's our life. We enjoy it. We love everything about it. We're always toking on a cigar at some point in the day. Every single one of us are. So like to invite them in and do it in a mature way, I think is my call in this industry is to be the go-between the guys who are the grandfathers and the studs and the guys who paved the way. That's like Garofalo and the other guys, and the young bucks coming up, and intergenerationally saying, okay, young bucks need to grow up a little bit, and then explain to my older guys around me even like, hey, this is why we do this in social media and everything else like that. And it's good to be kind of the middle guy in between saying, this is great. And so I do consulting and stuff like that with other guys too, saying, hey, this is some things you can do, and this how you can really get your product out there in this regarding. I think it's really fun and really enjoyable, but using social media in a mature way is always a struggle with just human nature in general. We all know that,
No, for sure. And so, Brad, you said something that I would like actually both of you guys' opinions on, as I'm a firm believer that nobody takes the title Master Blender, it is given by their peers. If anybody takes the title Master Blender, they're a liar or they're trying to showboat. With this exact same question, I would personally consider Brad and Dave both experts in the cigar world, both because you guys have
Dave for
shops.
sure. Dave for sure. Yeah.
Well,
Dave for sure.
I would say you too, Brad. Don't discount yourself. You have 40
I don't think I'm an
plus
expert,
brands.
man.
You
I
have
enjoy
40
it.
plus
I enjoy it.
blends.
I enjoy it.
You've been doing this for a long time. What I am very
that-
curious about, I don't consider myself an expert, even though I do smoke 3 to 5 cigars a day. I don't consider myself an expert. But since I do consider both of you expert witnesses inside the cigar world, if a legal case was ever brought, what are both of your definitions? And Dave, we'll start with you, with what you would classify as a cigar expert and what to watch out for when people are watching social media around quote unquote cigar experts.
So, you mentioned cigar blenders, a master blender. You're 100% right when it comes to that is a title given to somebody. Every company has their blenders. It's almost like a porn star. What makes them a star? Where's the one person that's not a star? Oh, they're all stars. Well, people are taking this master blender or experts in cigars. The fact of the matter is when I talk to some of these experts or master blenders, they tell me that they're learning every day because it's ever evolving and changing, and hybrids are happening with tobacco, with seeds, and all these things that different happen. When it comes to retail changes. I've lived through it, the changes and the evolve that ends up happening. So I'm a student of it. I study it because it's changing all the time. So am I an expert? I'm a student. I'm a student still learning, and I don't know if there is an expert when it comes to retail. There's retail teachers out there, which I've hired before and said, come here, I want to learn from you. And, after a few days, the guy says, I should be learning from you. Well, no, I learned some things from you and you learned some things from me. And, it is the best people in the cigar industry are the people that are continuing to learn, want to continue to learn. The best retailers I know, I have conversations with because they call up and say, what do you think of this? Well, if they're the expert, why are they calling me to ask what it is? And I call them, hey, what do you think of this? Because we're learning from each other. It's evolving. It's changing. What do we do? What do you do in the case of this? What do you do in the case of that? So I don't consider myself an expert at all. I'm in the cigar industry, which is pretty unique industry in itself. It's very, very small. I'm a big fish in a small pond, right? I was speaking at, I think, the TPE convention. I was hosting one of the seminars that was happening there, and I had a panel. And I said to them the same thing, that, we are learning as this is going on. We're up here as supposedly the experts, and as people would ask questions into the audience, what I'm supposed to do is bring those questions to the group. But sometimes they ask a question and I ask the question back to them because no, they're an expert in what they're at, and that goes for the consumer. If you're a retailer, when the consumer comes in, if you're not asking the customer any questions, you're not going to pick the right cigar for them. You're going to think this is the right thing for them, but you didn't ask them anything. You didn't ask them how they take their coffee. Oh, I like espresso, or I like extra milk, extra sugar, or I like light beer and not heavy beer, or I like scotch and I like wine spritzes. It's a totally different person as you get into this person. I like labels. You look at the clothes they're wearing, and the guy's a label buyer. As a retailer, we have to be a chameleon when it comes to it, and that's why a manufacturer has to listen to retailers. It's the most important thing of all, because we see the end user, the consumer. They don't. They see us, and we can tell them what the end user is. And if you look at some of the big manufacturers that produce retail stores, they typically fail. They lose money. And they bleed money out because they think they got it because they're a manufacturer. And then I got into the wholesale end and got into manufacturing cigars for the United Cigar. And holy shit, I thought it was like selling to a consumer, which I'm pretty good at. And that was a whole different thing. And I go, wow, I really suck at this. And almost much stronger, I get to, okay, I got to think to the consumer end of this. We retailers don't understand certain things, and the manufacturer is worse than that. They don't understand what the consumer wants. The buck stops with the consumer, you know. They're the ones that are the final say. That's where it ends. You, the consumer. So we're just trying to figure you out. And it's an evolving thing because you change. I'm getting older and older, but my customer stays the same age. So that customer comes in and I'm getting older and my thoughts are different. I got to get into the younger generation. And as I get older, what am I going to do? I have to hire younger people to think like younger people, right? So that ends up being my play to try to get somebody better than me that can understand this next generation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Brad, before you answer, Dave, literally what I have been I was told this by a shop owner I was talking to privately. I asked him, and I've said this on my show numerous times, and what you just literally said is exactly to the point. I asked him, what's the most expensive part of your humidor? He said it's all the same value. It's just different pricing. But to me, it's the same value. It's not what the most expensive part of my lounge humidor is. It's the most expensive part of any humidor is the consumer's home humidor. Meaning, if I have 1,000 cigar humidor, the cost of that space is less. If I only have a 20 cigar humidor, the cost of that space is more. So it's harder to get into a smaller humidor at somebody's house. And really what matters most is, like you have always said, it's not the order, it's the reorder, and it's the reorder, and it's the reorder. So Brad, what is your opinion on what makes a cigar expert an expert? And how would you, because you came into this in such a social media fashion, how would you help people see through the bullshit of the social media quote unquote experts and actually get valuable information that your channel provides?
That was very generous. Thanks for saying that.
You're welcome, buddy. Love you.
I would call Ryan a good friend. I'll say this. I hope that everyone listened to what Dave said. Like, you are wise if you take heed to what he said. Like, if you're a young guy and you're listening to this right now, or you're in the industry and you're a shop owner or something like that, you need to listen to what he said. It's very, 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 very important, because like, the consumer really is king, and the retailers have as a retailer, your job ultimately is to have your finger on the pulse of what they want. So like, in order to know somebody, let's just take it out to a date night with my wife. In order to go out on a date night with my wife, I got to ask her a few things, right? I got to ask her, where does she want to go? What does she feel like eating? So you're asking, when it comes to the consumer coming in, hey, what's the last cigar? I have 3 questions I ask everybody minimum. The first question is, hey, how you doing? When's the last time you were here? That's because I want to know if they're a recurring customer or have I met them before? Because we have so many people come through, I don't know everybody. And my office is in the back, so I'm not usually sitting in the front where all the retail stuff is. And then I asked them, what's the last cigar you smoked that you really enjoyed? Okay. Then I asked them why do they really like it? And then if they don't have any of those answers, I asked them, if they're looking for a cigar, I said, do you like more robust and, like rich and robust, or light and creamy? Which one do you like? Which scale do you? And then we're right in the medium. What do you want? Medium or sweet? So like, there's a lot of questions you have to ask. And here's something really fascinating, by the way, about human nature. The more you ask questions of somebody, the more they feel valued, the more they feel like you're caring, because you can't ask questions and then not shut up. You have to listen, right? In order to find the answers that you want. And so it's just human nature for anybody to be a good retailer to ask questions. So when you said, Dave, that you have to be a student of the consumer, and that you have to, I don't know if you said that, but I'm putting it in your mouth, sorry. But you have to definitely I remember you said something about that, and I thought it was really, really astute. But the customer really is, it's our job as retailers to have our fingers on the pulse of the customers, not just our customers who are regulars, but every other time customers, or who we want to see as new customers, so that we can make sure that we're opening our arms and our humidors to other people that might want other things that we don't know about yet. So just so you know, once in a while, I bring in, my kids are all young. All my kids are young. Well, I say young. They're all adults, by the way, but they're all out of high school and everything like that. But I bring my kids into my shop, and I tell them, what do you like, what don't you like about my shop? You know, now, and that's important because I want them to see things. Oh, absolutely. What do you like about this? What do you not like about this? I show my son, who is like cutting edge, trendy on everything. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? He's like, stupid video, Dad, stupid. I'm like, okay, I should do that again. Now, let me tell you one of the most fascinating things that, Dave, this might hit you right, because I think you're mature enough for this. I wasn't mature enough to hear it when I heard it, and now I get it. So one day we come in, we usually do about 2 or 3 videos a week, and we have scheduled time to do this, right? So I was coming in one day, and we just had not a bad day, but myself and the other manager there, like, we had personal problems at home. It was a bad sales day. It was a bad sales month. I mean, everything's just crunching down, right? You have those days, you have those weeks. And I mean, we're both like, and like real hard stuff happening, by the way. Like, I don't want to tell you details, but like life-changing stuff on both of our ends, right? And I just get there, and I'm with him. He's telling about me. He's like choking up, crying. I'm like choking up, crying, because this has to do with my kid, the reason I'm upset about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really hard. And I call my son, because I'm choked up about my son, something my son's going through, by the way. So I call my son up, and he's probably this is probably about 2 years ago. So he's 20 now, so I guess he was maybe 18. And I said, hey, man, I love you. I care about you. I don't want to be at odds with you because we're fighting about something. It was really bad. It was just bad fight with your kid type thing, right? And I said, I was going to do a video today. I'm not going to do it. My son looks at me and goes, you have to do it, Dad. You have to do the video today. And you have to be real with everybody. I want you, you don't pretend like, hey, guys, welcome back again to the Zeal Cigar Review. Get on there and be, if you're crying, you're crying. If you be exactly who you are. From that day forward, I have never, ever changed. Like the whole, gotta get it, gotta snap into character. Not ever have I done that. And it was one of the biggest videos we ever did, where I was just like, I don't remember what I called it. It was like, it's a bad day, or today sucked, or, you know, I didn't want to make this video, or something like that. You know, so my son, all of my son's friends saw it. All of his friends' saw it. Went viral with it in Little Pig, so it's kind of a bigger community. They start saying, hey, dude, your dad was crying. Did you know that? My son didn't even see it. And he's like, what? And he goes, yeah, he was crying. He was crying about, I mean, I don't know what it was about, but you should talk to him. And I'm like, oh. And so we had a chance to work out some stuff. We had a come to Jesus meeting type thing. It was just, so I think what the younger generation will really appreciate in the future, particularly in social media, are people who authentically are who they are and not somebody else they're not. There are some major actors out there that are really good actors, and when they're exposed for who they are, it comes out in spades, and they hurt a lot of people, and they hurt people because people are like, well, you know, I thought that person was different, and some people aren't. But the reality is, the more authentic you can be with people, the more customers respect that. And so when I get a chance to meet people in my shop that have come in, I had a guy fly in from California, which isn't really far away, but flew in from California because he had a free flight, and so he flew in just to see us. And he's like, hey, just so you know, I flew in from California just to smoke a cigar and sit in your lounge. I'm like, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And he goes, you ever done it before? I'm like, I've done it many times with different shops. Absolutely, I have. There's people I'm a big fan of in different places, and I've definitely gone there. And now that I'm in the industry with them, it's even weirder. So I'm like, man, you're incredible. I've watched you forever, you know, that kind of thing. I had every cigar aficionado. I had every cigar snob. I had all those things. So I was geeking out when I got a chance to meet all these people. And now I'm talking to them on the phone. They have my phone number. It's weird. You know, so I feel like a kid in a candy shop. I feel like I'm the young, stupid one trying to sit here and just learn from Dave, because that's important, because the things he says is important. But I would just say that being authentic, I have seen, will really drive us. You know, the business is business, and we all get it. But being authentic, particularly in social media, when you're good and you're bad. I don't like, for example, man, I don't post things on social media like that are nebulous and stupid. Like on Facebook, guys are like, Well, if you don't know by now, then
Well, what a time to drop.
I
Sorry
know,
about that.
right? There we
Oh,
go.
what a time to
What'd
drop.
you say? What'd you say, Brad?
I
Oh,
Oh, you gotta be.
oh, this
Is he
is
doing this on
terrible.
purpose?
I don't know, but I'm like hanging on to it.
yeah,
Ah!
He's gonna forget now.
I know. We can't hear you now, Brad. We can't hear you. Brad, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Nothing. Can't hear
Yeah.
me.
There we go. Nope. Still can't hear you. Still can't hear you, Brad.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh man, I was
He did this for the show. This is part of the show.
no,
Right?
can't hear you, Brad. Nope. I don't know. Change your mic input. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Brad, can't hear you.
Don't forget the end of this story.
Don't you dare. Yeah, no. Jump out and jump back in.
Wow. And as
Jump,
you said,
leave and come back in, Brad.
He's got to jump out and jump back in.
Jump out and come back in. Oh, what a cliffhanger. I'll tell you what. Holy crap. No, can't hear you, dude. I can't hear you. Leave and come back. I'm gonna text him real quick.
Leave and come back. He
I'm
can't
gonna
hear
text
us.
him. Yeah, he can't hear me. Let me text him real quick.
Got it. He's
Oh
got it.
my gosh.
He's got the hand signal.
There we go.
So he's talking about being authentic, and that's it. There are people that can maybe pull it off, and they're that good, and turn it on and turn it off or something. But for me personally, it's easier to be me. This is it. This is me in the daytime and the nighttime. It's just being the same person I am, and that's it. And some people don't like it, and some people do. Whatever it is, it is. But I can play myself better than anybody. And that's how he is too. I mean, he's a character on himself, and that's it. And if people take to it, apparently they are with those many views and stuff that he's having. It's working, and that goes for manufacturers too. I mean, there's a lot of phonies out there, and there's authentic people. And what I find is the authentic people rise. So that's what I try to do too.
So, Dave, as somebody that personally would consider you the grandfather of cigar social media. Oh, here we go. We got him back. Brad.
sorry about that.
Complete your story, please.
Where'd I stop? I forgot where I stopped.
You were. Oh, I forgot to.
It doesn't matter.
What a cliffhanger!
It does.
What a cliffhanger!
The whole point was just to be authentic. My son and I had a great conversation about it, and the point is just to ultimately, I think people want authenticity more than they want anything else. To be honest with you, especially when it comes to social media, because eventually you'll be found out if you're a fake and you're using somebody or something like that. So I think going forward, we need to keep it really, really authentic, though. But
yeah, and I say for the sake of our industry, we should keep it up and not down. And, movies, when movies come out, there's critics that go on and tell what they don't like about the movie. But when it comes to me on social media, me on the sales floor, and me even training my sales staff, I give them a cigar and I tell them, what do you like about the cigar? And then the guy may say, well, it's kind of peppery and I don't like that. And I said, that's not what I said. I want to know what you like about the cigar. That's what we're going to talk about, what you like about it. When I do our podcast, we try to talk about what do we like about it. Because, the other guy in the end that made this cigar, and it could be a small company, and you could ruin them. by saying what you personally don't like and actually end up hurting his business. Where the whole reason why I do social media is to help other people. And it's when a dog bites somebody, it maybe doesn't get that much news. If a guy bit a dog, okay, that's going to get a lot of news. A guy bit a dog, but I don't want to do it. But they know that that's what's going to get the attention. So it's the easiest thing to go negative on somebody.
Yes,
but it doesn't serve a good purpose for our entire industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to do something that I've only done one other time on this show, and it's because I am in such legendary company. Dave, I would like you to ask Brad a question, and Brad, I would like you to ask Dave a question, because my questions are not going to be tailored like y'all's questions will be. So Dave, both you and Brad are professionals. So Dave, if Brad was on your show, what is a question that you would ask him?
Wow. I'm not prepared for it, but I'd have to go because, what's the hot cigars selling in your store right now?
The hottest cigar? Is that what you said? The hottest cigars?
The hot cigars that are selling right now that maybe I don't carry and I should be.
Luciano.
Great question.
Luciano.
Wow. Okay.
Luciano. I just tried his that new Y Panda. I don't know if you had that.
Well, you personally like it, but is it hot? Is it selling? Is that what people like too?
Everyone that smoked has loved it. Yeah. I'll say that's not what's selling, but Luciano's selling. Micallef. I'm trying to think some other ones. All the typical ones sell, like the ones that are late legendary brands or what have you.
But any little guy like the next hot one.
I think Luciano is that guy.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think he's the next. I really think he's got something going on.
Because that's what I look for on the trade show. Who's the next? Was there somebody at that trade show that you weren't at? But
Oscar Valadez or something like that. Yeah,
the hot stuff. I see Rojas.
Rojas.
Young guy, very very passionate about it. I knew him years ago as a young man, and now he's matured, and I see. Okay, this guy could be the next big thing. And that's what I look for, in a later career. I was a nightclub DJ, and I was my job was to find the next music trend and the next hot music that was coming out, the next artist was there, and radio stations would call me and ask me these things. And I took that to the cigar industry, and I'm account number, low number account numbers on some of these guys that are very popular right now. And that's because I thought they had something right from the get-go, and I missed some that I didn't get to till much later. But I like to be, on the track early on. Some retailers will say, "No, I'm not going to build a brand. That isn't my job. I don't want it until it's already popular." Where I'm the opposite for whatever reason that is I want to be there before he's popular and then watch him get popular.
There's a guy named Sinistro too that's doing some really good stuff. Yep, I like Sinistro.
Sinistro's doing good stuff.
He does some good stuff as well. I really like his stuff. I think that's my turn, Dave. My turn. Your
there you go.
Because we have to go soon, right? We're at an hour and a half.
We got about another 30 minutes.
Oh, we have another 30 minutes. Okay, I gotta plug in my phone.
I lit another one, so I figured we were going. This was good.
No, this is amazing. Are you kidding me?
I have a question for Dave. So, this is going to sound. I mean, everyone's talking about cigars. What is the biggest cigar that you've smoked that you associate with your time in the industry? Like, if you were to round it up and say, "I'm going to smoke one cigar to sum up my time in the industry," what would that cigar be?
Wow.
Well, the big thing to me was Partagas 150 when that came out.
The what?
Partagas 150. It came out for the 150th anniversary of Partagas. Yeah. Ramon Cifuente, was the big thing at the time. Cuban guy, they brought him in. General Cigar brought him in. Talk about a trade show. They took not Disneyland, but that other big park that's there.
Universal Studios.
Universal Studios. General Cigar rented Universal Studios and had the launch there. We got to go on the ride, no wait. And me and my brother, who was the other guy, two guys, we went on every ride in a matter of 30 minutes. The Blues Brothers was playing there. It was the most incredible night ever. And we're talking about, I mean, this guy dumped millions of dollars into that. One-time release, by the way. It was a one-time release on top of it. And at the trade show this year, I met his great-grandson, Ramon Cifuente's great-grandson. And I told him that story while I was with him. He was at the Altadas booth, and somebody introduced him to me. I said, oh, my God. And we sat and chatted for a while about his grandfather. And, you know, we're talking about legends in the cigar industry. But that cigar, and I'm telling you, when that came out, that was a $12 cigar, which was unheard of. Unheard of. That was so expensive. You have one?
No, the black. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
That actually changed the industry. That was during the cigar boom, I think 1994 or 95. 94, I believe it was. As Opus X was, too. Opus X is another game-changer brand that ends up happening. But I got to give it a Partagas.
I'm listening. Give me the. Hey, Jamie, I need a power cord from the phone. Can you find one real quick? I'm so sorry. I'm live on this thing, and I need one power cord. So this is my beautiful wife here. Let me show you. Here we go.
Hey,
you say hi?
hey.
There we go. That's David Garofalo. He's in New Hampshire. That's Ryan.
I've seen Facebook pictures.
That's what a personality can do for you, huh?
Right?
Right.
I know. She's partially blind. So
no, she's almost fully blind.
Yeah, I know, right? She's a saint. She's a saint. Save this center, that's for sure. Give me a second, and I'll plug in so I won't lose you guys. Thanks, honey. I really appreciate it.
So,
let me plug in here. There we go.
I'll let you respond to what Dave said, Ed.
Okay.
I'll let you respond to what Dave said.
What? Okay.
The Partagas 150 being his last cigar if he would only smoke that.
Oh, you want me to answer that?
No, I said I will let you respond if you wanted to respond.
I think it's awesome. I mean, it's an incredible story, and to tell Fuente's grandson that type thing, and it's crazy nuts, right?
So let me add a little something to that story. So it was so legendary. 10 years later, the folks from General Cigar at the time, Edgar Cullman, historic guy himself, was the owner of General Cigar, and he said, I want to get the top retailers in the country together, and we went to the Dominican Republic, and he said, we're going to use some of the leftover tobacco from Partagas 150 10 years later, and we're going to create something for Cohiba because it was the anniversary of Cohiba coming up, and I think it was 13 of us, and we're going to go to school, basically. It's going to be a 3-day school. You're coming here to work. And it was classroom session, and they gave us all these different tobaccos, and they had us try different blends. And our idea was to put the brand together: packaging, the band, the box, the blend, the pricing, everything was going to be us. And after the second day, he came in the morning, and he says, "You fucking guys can't agree on a thing. This meeting is over. Have a good time the rest of your time here because it's over, and we're going to come out with something different instead," which became Partagas 160, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for Cohiba, and Partagas 160 came out. But the interesting thing was these retailers were all the top retailers in the country, and we're self-employed for a reason because you couldn't change my mind, and I couldn't change their mind, and all these people having completely different thoughts of what the cigar should be. And everybody disagreed with everybody. It was the biggest clusterfuck you ever saw before in your life. And but despite that, everybody was successful. So that told us that there's many ways to succeed in this industry because we were all very different from each other. So there wasn't, this is the way. I can tell you my way of how I made it, But there's many ways, and everybody found their own way, and everybody was highly successful from it. So that's what I ended up learning from it, and that's another reason Partagas 150 was an important cigar for me.
That's awesome, man. That's an incredible story.
Now,
that's incredible.
I want to kind of turn attention here just to highlight Dave's massive success that happened this week. So I am going to share my screen here really quick, just because I would like to show this. Where is it? So Dave Garofalo has been honored from somebody from TCU University as using his book David vs. Goliath and using it in their marketing class. So I also want to show this because I'm hoping after this show I will be reading this book. It's already in my cart, as you can see. I'm on Amazon. So this is the book that David's got inside of an actual curriculum in a marketing class. Dave, what has this experience been like for you when you found this out? Because this is very, very big news. If any marketing person is watching this, this is now a curriculum training. I would absolutely recommend that everybody get this book if you're remotely interested in marketing. Dave, why is this book important, and why did you choose to write it?
Well, it's the craziest thing. That was 2 days ago when I got that letter in the mail, and somebody I met at the trade show booth pulled me aside. Somebody introduced me to him, and he barely told me about that. He says, I'm a professor at this college, and I read your book, and we're using it in the class. And I said, get out of here. And he says, no, I'm going to send you something anyway for you to see. I know you're a busy guy. I'm not going to bother you with it right now. And I got that letter in the mail 2 days ago, and I read it, and I was kind of blown away. And I posted it on social media, and I get awards for all kinds of different shit. You donate stuff or whatever you're doing, it goes in the drawer, and I don't want to, I don't donate to get recognition or anything like that. I do it because I want to do it or whatever. But this one, I was proud of myself, and my 92-year-old mother lives here with me, and I wanted her to see this because when I was in ninth grade, she had to go to one of those teacher conferences, teacher-parent conferences. And she came back from the conference, and I'm waiting for her, and she came back crying. And I said, what's the matter? And she said, your teacher told me you're a good boy, and you're good in class, and there's not a problem that you're doing, but you'll never amount to anything. You just don't have it. And I feel so bad, and what's the problem and all this? And I said, don't worry, Ma, I'm going to be fine. I'll be a success, and I'm going to be good and whatever. Don't worry about it. And trying to ease my mother from what this crazy teacher, who I happen to like before she said this to my mother. And I remember going in class after that and looking at her for the rest of the year, like, how could you say this to my mother, and make my mother cry? It bothered me so much. And as I say, I'm self-employed my whole life. It was always a business after business, success after success. And I did very, very well for myself. And I take care of her now. She lives in my house. And knock on wood, we don't, anything we want, we can have. And she's happy. And she's 92 years old, happy and healthy. God bless her. And I'm so happy to have her around still. But I said on that post that I did it, I wish my teacher in school could see this. And unfortunately, she's dead, because I would like for her to see it, to teach her a lesson that don't ever say that to a kid, to a kid's mother or whatever. It wasn't like he needs a little more work on reading or whatever my issues are. And still to this day, I mean, we all have our weaknesses or whatever, but it, maybe it motivated me even stronger. I never forgot it, that day happened. And that was almost like, well, here you go, ninth grade English teacher. I wrote a book, and I wrote the book we have a podcast studio in the building where we did to do our own podcast. I built a beautiful studio, and somebody asked me, why don't you have this available for other people? Because, you do a 2-hour show once a week and it just sits here and state of the art, everything and whatever. And I said, well, that's actually a good idea. So it turned into another business, this little podcast studio that happens. And one of the podcasts that was on there was called The Writer's Block. And it was 3 ladies that were there, and one of them wrote a book, and the other 2 were in the process of writing a book. And they did this podcast week after week. They did it for a couple of years, maybe 3 years. And the other 2 continued to talk about they're going to write a book. And I said, at the end of their show one day, I said, you still haven't written a book? It's been like a year and a half now. And she said, well, it's not that easy. And I said, well, what does it take to write a book? How many words? How many words has to be a book? So she said, how many words a book has to be? And I said, well, I'm going to give it a shot. And 2 weeks later, I said, oh, I finished my book. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, I wrote a book. And she said, you didn't write a book. And I said, yeah, you told me this many words. She said, I want to see it. So she looked at it and she said, well, there's no forward to the book. And I said, well, what's that? And she says, oh, somebody has to write something about who it is. And the other girl said, well, I'll write your forward for you. And I said, okay. And I said, what else? She says, now you have to go to an editor. Now, this is interesting. So I said, all right, what's an editor do? Well, they're going to look at it and they're going to correct the punctuations and things and anything that's wrong. So they hooked me up with this lady that first lady that wrote the book did. And she said, I want $500 to edit the book. I said, okay, let me send you the money. Here's the book. She said, okay, give me a week or 2 and I'll get it back to you. Which, by the way, it took me 2 weeks to write the book. It's going to take her 2 weeks to edit it, but okay. And I did that while running three stores, doing my podcast each week, and having distribution company, properties, lots of things that I do. And she calls me back 3 days later and said, I never did this in my life, but I have to say it to you. And I said, what is it? And she said, I'm going to need $250 more. It's that bad. I said, oh, okay. I get it. She said, your punctuation, your grammar, this. I said, I know. Again, back to the teacher, right? So she said, 250 more. I said, you got it. And there it is. And actually, after I got it, I had to re-edit it. Only because there was words in it I didn't even understand. I had to look them up. So I wouldn't write like that. So I had to dumb it down a little bit to my language. And I put the book out. And, they stopped doing their podcast shortly after that. And about a year later, the girl came in and dropped off a book for me, her book that she wrote. And she said, thank you, David. You motivated me to go on. And that's why I wrote the book, to motivate that girl who couldn't finish writing the book after all this time. And I motivated her, never thinking, I just went. I just started typing, and I went for promotion as it went on. And when the lady finished the thing, she said, you have 97 promotional events in here. And I said, oh, okay. She counted them. I didn't. And she said, can you write 3 more? And I said, sure, because she wanted it to be 100 proven promotions. So I said, well, two things have to happen. I have to write the promotion, then I have to actually do it because they're proven. So to be honest with myself, they have to work, because I've done 1,000 promotions over the years and 900 of them didn't work. These are the 100 that did work. And that was the idea of the book anyway in my head, that these would be proven promotions, to actually give all the things that I've ever thought about doing in retail to everybody. Again, it's not a book of cigars. It's not cigar promotions. It's retail promotions. But I've been a retailer for 38 years in the cigar industry. So I promise you they were all done in a cigar store. So if somebody retailer got this, it can really help you out if you actually do it. It's not going to help you if you read the book. You actually have to do it. And if you do it, you'll improve your promotions and things in the store. People will come and say, there's always something happening here. They'll hang on to brick and mortar, because that's what I want to do. I don't ever want it to be odd for somebody to buy cigars in a cigar store. Because what do you buy cigars in a cigar store? Everybody buys them online. No, we as brick and mortar retailers have an advantage, but we have to know what that advantage is. We have to do what they can't do, which are promotions like that are in this book.
Amazing. And congratulations, Dave.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a big one for me. Thank you.
I'm sure. And I know the second we get off, Brad's going to order that book. But I'll tell you what, how can anybody get a signed book from you? I
don't have them. And, you know, I never sold them in the store or anything like that. It's not a cigar thing. It's for brick and mortar retailers of any kind to say, you know, we're having a hard time keeping the lights on here or whatever it is. So here's some tricks to help you out. You know, we're very lucky in the cigar industry. Amazon, which is the biggest retailer in the world, chooses not to carry our products. Oh my God, what an edge that is, because most other retailers, Amazon carries their product. That's their biggest competitor. That is friggin' tough.
It'd almost be like equivalent of CI.
Right. That's our biggest one that would have some of these deep discount guys that it's hard to compete with, especially if you're in tax states. That's an issue too. So, you know, what do you do? What do you do with that? I'm not the lowest price out there. I've never been the lowest price out there. But there's something when you come into our store, hopefully, education, you know, back to what you're saying, when somebody comes in the store, we're trying to make that sale that's going to happen with this guy, that he leaves happy, and then when he smokes the cigar, it's happy. He has everything he needs to have a great experience, because we actually ask some questions, and then he sits back and he smokes a cigar away from us. He's on the lawn chair in his yard, and he goes, wow, this is a great cigar. I want to go back to that store, and maybe even back to that salesperson, because that guy did me right. That's the guy I want to have. Because what I'm looking for is the lifetime value of the customer. Lifetime, not make the quick sale, sell him the $100 cigar, and I made a few extra dollars. I don't want it. I want this guy for life. You know, that's even my online business was about that. When I told you I opened that online business, and I was the second guy to ever do it, the whole reason why I like that is my older customers were retiring and moving to Arizona or Florida, right? And I wanted them to continue to buy from me. Well, how could they continue to buy? Because I worked them for a long time, and they're still alive. So now I'm gonna give them to somebody else, not if I didn't have to. So, and to this day, we have still customers that bought from us and moved away, and they're still our customer for all these years. So that's what I hold very, very strongly. I want new customers, of course, but if I can hang on to the ones, love the ones you're with, right? If I can hang on to the ones that I have, all the better. Everything else
absolutely, absolutely. And I want to ask a little bit of an introspective question here to both of you, and I'll start with Brad. Just because, and
it's got to be a minute. It's got to be a minute or something with me. I have to go soon.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. No, don't worry about it.
I got things popping. I thought we were an hour and a half. And
no, don't worry about it, Brad. So
introspection.
One of the things that I've always learned in reading the books, the sales books, the mentorship style books, is failure. And it's what people do around failure that actually makes them a success. So, Brad, I'll start with you. And if you have to go after you answer, that's fine. I'll just not play with you later on Call of Duty. That's fine. No, I'm totally kidding. But anyways, Dave, Brad and I play video games together. But anyways, Brad, what is your biggest failure? And what did you learn from that experience? Same question to you, Dave, when it's your turn.
What's my, like in the cigar industry, what's my biggest failure?
What is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that as a person going forward in your life?
I think my biggest failure was managing people the way that I coached football when I was a varsity football coach. And you can't manage people. you can't manage people like a varsity football coach. You have to be more relational and not just simply tell them to do something. I had people who worked for me who had never played team sports before, never had a good dad who was a leader. I was raised by a Marine who was a strong leader. I played team sports all my life and big man on campus type personality. And so I just expected everyone to respect that. And one of my greatest failures was probably recognizing that not everyone can be led that way. And so I had to change the way that I led people in order themselves. So I think I've done that very well at Zeal. I don't think I did it very well when I first got in this industry, because I came from the automotive industry, which was highly competitive. And by the way, that personality works fantastic in the auto industry.
Correct.
It's really hardcore guys that they're all type A personalities, and they're just ready to just go to war with you, and make some serious bread, which we did. But in the cigar industry, it's a little more laid back, a little different. There's different types of personalities and what have you. So, and that's one of the reasons I feel like I don't go to the trade shows sometimes, because I feel like I'm looking around looking for a fight, and I don't want to have that. I enjoy what I do too much. Than to get the competitive juices flowing there, and look to put somebody down, or be competitive about something. It's just not how I work in the everyday workings at Zeal Cigars. It's a lot more laid back and enjoyable, than that. And there is business and there is work and everything that we do. But I think that was one of the biggest failures in my life, was doing that. I think I ruined some hard relationships because of that. So, and I own that.
You know what, Brad? I appreciate that honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And before Dave, just in case Brad has to go, Brad is a very close friend. I talk with him almost daily, but I got to ask, before you get off, is that wisp in your beard? Is that every day what you do?
What?
Because that's like the Conan O'Brien,
that's what I named my
up.
So the cigar that we had made for me, it's called Crooked Beard. It's named after that. Yeah, it's always grown this way. It's really weird. Yeah, it's really weird. It's always grown that way. And so no matter what I do, I always get this weird little, wisp right there. It's just really weird. And no matter what I do, I could try to straighten it. You can see it just curls. It's a weird thing, man. It's a weird thing.
It works for you. And Brad, if you have another 14 minutes to stay around, that's great. If you can't, that's fine.
I can't. I really gotta go.
Totally understand. Brad, thank you so much for
thank you guys. And Dave,
Ryan
has my stuff. I'll get in contact with you later on, man. An absolute fan of yours and everything you do.
As I am with you.
Honored. Very, very
my pleasure. And we're having a cigar together if I have to go to Arizona to do it.
Come in the winter, not now.
Thank you so much, Brad, for joining,
of course,
and being part of the conversation tonight. I really appreciate you, and thank you so much. Have a great night and a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dave, since it's just the two of us, the same question to you, as I am a firm believer that nobody actually is successful unless they understand what it means to be successful in failure. So what is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that experience?
Boy, I'm glad he's gone, because he's a big dude and he wouldn't accept what I'm about to say. So now that he's gone, I'm going to say it. So, I tried. I'm a guy that will try anything. And, as a young kid, I used to watch wrestling matches all the time. Love wrestling. We're talking in the 70s. And I wanted to be that guy in the wrestling ring. That's what I wanted to do. So when I turned 18, I said, okay, what do I got to do to become a wrestler? And I met up with a professional wrestler at that time, Killer Kowalski, if that means anything to anybody. He was a big wrestler in those days, former champion. And I went to him and I said, I want to become a wrestler. And he said, well, you're awful small. I was 5'5". I wasn't in the shape I'm in today, but I said, yeah, I want to do this. And back to my mother, I remember he called my mother on the phone after I had left him, and he says, David's a good boy, and if he wants to maybe be a referee or something, I would recommend for him. But if he becomes a wrestler, he's going to be the guy we're going to throw around all the time, and he's not going to win. He's going to be the loser all the time. And, you know, I think he's a smart kid. He could end up coming up with, you know, who's going to win and come up with the shows and all this idea of what it is. And she said, well, I'll tell him, but, you know, he wants to do what he wants to do. And she told me, and I said, no, I'm going to do it. And I trained for 3 years to be a professional wrestler.
Wow.
And this is what I wanted to do. And I go, all right, I'm small, so I got to be the guy flying around the ring, right? Flying drop kicks, all these different things. And I finally got to have a match, and $35 if I will do this match. And I said, sure. And just as Mr. Kowalski said to me, that you're going to be the guy that's going to end up losing, and, you know, this big guy's going to bash on you. It was exactly what happened, but I did it. And I said, okay, I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to see what's going to happen. They're going to end up liking me and say, okay, you'll be something. So they schedule a second match. I go to the second match. I'm in that. I do the second match, and I go, I'm doing a big, heavy guy. He was like a Man Mountain Dean or something, his name was. And I do a drop kick on him. And the idea was that he was so big, the drop kick doesn't even make him move back. You know, it just hits him. He doesn't move at all. And then I fall. Well, I was trained to drop kick and push off the person. And that's how I would end up not getting hurt, by pushing off to the, fall to the ground and roll. Well, this guy doesn't move because that was the play, that how I wasn't going to do it. So I dropped to the ground like a rock. My shoulder pops out of my arm, and I give him a signal like I'm really hurt. And, you know, he might be an amateur at that time too. So he doesn't pick up on that, throws me into the ring, off the ropes, back off, bang, he smashes into me. And then I'm tapping like, you know, crazy, trying to, you know, give him the signal that I'm fucking really hurt here. Just end this thing. And a couple of more moves he does on me till he finally catches on. And then he ends up ending the match. I roll off, and on the way to the hospital, I said, okay, this was a mistake. I got to get out of this thing. And I quit right there and then. But years later, I bump into some of these wrestlers that I trained for years. And they said, hey, whatever happened to you? You know, we all went to Mexico after that, and we all did this and we all did that, and you just disappeared. I told the story. Here's what ended up happening to me. And these guys were, you know, I was in the cigar business at the time, by then, and they were walking with canes. They were beat up really bad, and we were still young, but they were very old. They were very beaten down and stuff. And I'm like, thank God that didn't work out for me. But I'm a guy that was going to do that despite somebody telling me I can't do it. I'm going to go all the way. And what I learned from it is sometimes the juice ain't worth the squeeze. You know,
it's true.
You got to let it go sometimes and say it just didn't work out. And it was an early lesson to know when it doesn't work out and accept failure. Okay, accept it, because I was a guy that wasn't going to accept it. So something doesn't work out, I don't want to do it again. And if something does work out, I want to rinse and repeat, like it says on the shampoo bottle. I want to keep doing that thing over and over again. And that's what kept me in the cigar business, because I had some early successes as it would turn out. That 1985, I got in the business. 1990, I'm in stride and the cigar boom happens. Holy shit. Talk about the right place at the right time. Boom, it goes up from there. And then it was, okay, I got this thing. And it became the rest of my life, because there was other businesses in between and even some things during. But the cigar industry, there's nothing like it. It is the best. And I can do it till the day I die, hopefully, because I love it that much.
Well, now that you're a college accredited author, you could literally do it until the day you die. And for anybody willing to order a book, David vs. Goliath by Dave Garofalo, I am 100% certain if you mailed it to Dave, he would sign it and send it back. So you could absolutely have a signed book by a college accredited author. But Dave, I want to end the show here. And by the way, I wanted to bring that up because as somebody that's been in the sales world, the sales industry for 20 plus years and has read so many books about how to sell anything to anybody, everybody's got a suggestion. That is an absolutely amazing feat and is probably, in my guess, one of your biggest accomplishments over your entire life career. Yes or no?
And I'll tell you why. The answer is yes. And Jose Orlando Padron, the father of George and Orlando Padron, said to me many, many years ago, he was going to come out with a book when he turned 90 years old. And that book came out. I never got my copy signed because he died right after. But he did it. And he said to me, you need to do 3 things in life. You must have a child, plant a tree, and write a book. So I did all 3 of those things, and I did them much younger than him. He was at 90 years old when he wrote the book, and I said to myself, let me get this book thing done because I don't want to die right after it anyway. But I did, but I really never thought that it would really do anything. I didn't know. I certainly haven't marketed the book and haven't done much with it at all. I just got a website put up for it, davidgarofalo.com, where the book is available on there. Again, I'm not the one that ships it out though, so I don't have the book if somebody came to me, I guess. But I put that together and thought about the possibility of maybe speaking engagement. So I have a thing up there. If somebody wanted me for a speaking engagement, I've done them in the cigar industry before. I've been the guest speaker for the J.C. Newman Fuente people for their national sales meeting, for Perdomo for their national sales meeting, where I was hired to actually do it. And I was hired for a lot of money too. I asked for a lot of money to do it, to see if I could get the money, if they would pay that kind of money, which was $10,000 to go and speak to them. And they did, they paid me. And at the end of it, I gave it back to them. And I said, I don't want the money. I just wanted to see if I could possibly get it, but I'm not promising I'm giving it back for the next one. I just wanted to see for myself, could I get hired? And you can only get hired if you get paid. Could I get hired as a speaker? And I did, and they said I did a great job and I was worth everything I got. For the cigar industry, I've done many times on, at conventions and stuff like that. But always the whole idea is to try to help somebody. And I do a lot of upfront work to get ready for these speeches that I do. And maybe that becomes something too, to help entrepreneurs with this. And certainly young entrepreneurs where they're in college. I love the idea of that there's a college using this to help young entrepreneurs because, hiring young people, I'm shocked, actually, amazed how illiterate they are, business illiterate, financial illiteracy, that they have not been taught that. It's not their fault, but it's not part of a curriculum in school, and it should be. There's serious debt out there. They're in financial debt. They buy way beyond their means because they don't know any better. Credit card debt is through the roof right now. It's never been worse in this country, and it's because we have this next generation who has not been taught. They're going to have to learn the hard way, which is get themselves in a lot of financial trouble and try to dig out of it. And some of them are never going to dig out, so it's a shame. So that's a missing element that happens. If I ever get to talk to that professor, because that was for briefly at that trade show that he spoke to me and didn't really tell me what this is about. This is what I would urge him to do is you must teach financial literacy to these children because if you want to open a cigar store, you better know that, retailers are using their credit cards as their bank, and they're paying 18, 20, 22% interest.
Yes.
You can't pay that kind of interest because there's not enough left at the end of it to have operational costs. So it's a shame of this illiteracy, and it's funny me saying this because that was what the teacher said to my mother back to go full circle, that I was illiterate, that I couldn't learn or whatever the reason was. And so apparently I had to learn the hard way. And you mentioned mistakes along the way. I can count the ways. I mean, many, many mistakes that ended up happening along the way, but I learned from them, which is the great thing. And I learned with very little money when I had nothing. So if I lost it all, I lost very little because I had nothing. As we start getting more financially independent and you have some money, now we can make less and less mistakes because it'll be very costly to make a mistake today.
And I thank you. That was an absolutely fantastic answer. I want to end the show with one question, and that is, how do you talk to somebody and give advice to somebody when they're scared to jump at a business?
The first thing I say is, if they're a homeowner, ask them if they're a homeowner, and they are. And I said, okay, the first thing you got to do is put your house up because you're going to need working capital. So put your house up. Oh my God, I can't imagine doing that.
That's
That'll
scary.
never happen. I wouldn't do it. I said, so if you wouldn't do it, what bank in the world do you think you wouldn't bet on yourself?
Yes.
How do you expect a bank to bet on you when you wouldn't bet on yourself? I can't tell you how many times I had to come to my wife and say, okay, we're putting it up again. Here's the deed to the house. We're going to borrow some money on it because I can get this good deal on these cigars. Or somebody will be going to a trade show and say, I don't have a lot of money to buy the promotional deals and things at the trade show. I'm not going to go. I don't have enough money to do it. And I said, you got a house? And they said, yeah. I said, borrow off your house, because that's the cheapest way you can possibly do it.
That's
Certainly
scary.
not a credit card, but it's scary.
Yes.
It's scary. So you gotta jump in with both feet, because if you possibly do that, sink or swim now, you put the house up, your family's there. Now you're going to work extra. You're going to work on weekends. You're going to stay extra time. You're going to do whatever you got to do because you have to. So that was part of my thing. I had to do it. Today we close on certain holidays, but in those days I used to let my staff have the holiday off, and I worked by myself because maybe I'd get some guys to come in and I'd make some sales, and I would have no labor costs or anything. I would have been closed. And I missed a lot. I missed a lot of holidays, but I put the house up. I had to make these sacrifices, and I did. So are you willing to sacrifice everything? Very, very scary. And if the answer is no, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. You have to bet on yourself. And it's not for everybody. It's something I wanted for my daughter. And as I think about it more and more, I go, it's not for everybody. And if you think you see me in the cigar lounge sitting with the guys and say, this is a wonderful job. It's 38 years of making it so I can sit in the lounge. Before I was on the sales floor for over 20 years and multiple stores. I worked for years by myself, years and years, all by myself in a store, and learning each customer as they come in and look, as we talked about, look at them pick up the $10 cigar and put it back, and then buy the $8 cigar, and what did I learn? Or move the product around into a different spot and see, here's the hot spot in the store. This is where I want to put these type of products. What goes where and why? All these things came. So as bad as it was, I was in college while I was doing that, learning in the store what goes where and why. And every day, every hour that I put in is continuing learning process. We brought up earlier of am I a master of it? I'm a student still to this day. I'm learning. I learned a whole bunch of stuff tonight, and I'm going to do something with it. I'm not just going to read the book. I'm going to put it into action. And
you know what, Dave? I'm not going to ask this question. I'll save this for next time you're on. But I just got to say, the humbleness that you showed by you making it known that you're a student is the reason why you're an expert. I hope that makes sense. Because
I see what you're saying, but
experts never stop learning.
I mean, did you say it, or did Brad say it, that the person that says they're a expert blender or the master blender? Yeah. I always had, it's funny you said that, because I have a problem with when I hear it from them, because you can't call yourself an expert. Somebody else has to do it. If you want to call me an expert, you're welcome to do it. I'm certainly not going to call myself an expert.
Sure.
I'm a student. And if somebody else does, thank you. I appreciate it, the way you look at me and whatever, but I'm a student. I'm learning every single day. And the day you think I've heard it from retailers before, they know it all. One retailer actually even said it to me. He says, "Oh, no, I know it all." I said, "You're the guy." I said, "I've been waiting to meet you my whole life. The guy that knows it all." Because it certainly ain't me, the guy that's trying to teach you, but you're the guy. Oh my God.
Yeah, and that really is, it's like almost like a nickname, right, Dave? If you give yourself a nickname, it's always the most badass nickname, but it's never how anybody perceives you.
Right. Somebody has to do it, right?
The nickname that starts, like Big Pussy from The Sopranos, that was a nickname. That wasn't anything he asked to be called, but it was what was given to him. Yeah. And you know, from the bottom of my heart, having you on the show is having an expert, is having a legend, is having a master of his craft on the show. So if nobody else will give it to you, I certainly will, out of my own expertise in this industry and how much I have followed you and learned from you. And just tonight, the expertise that you gave tonight is absolutely invaluable. And any retailer needs to watch the show tonight to gain a affirmative understanding of how the insight should be looked at. So, Dave, I absolutely, from the bottom of my heart, love that you were on the show. I'm grateful that Brad also was on the show. I hope that I provided not just the viewers, but you an insightful show in a way to see things from maybe a different perspective, or not a different perspective, but to then concrete your own viewpoints from another retailer.
It did. I was hoping for some difference, that he was different from me, and have him teach me why I'm wrong of something, not for me to be right. But if he said something different than what I thought, I would be asking the question to him. Will explain that to me. Tell me why you think that is there, because I think differently, and want to get and straighten me out if that's the case. But we happen to be very like-minded. It's not the case all the time, but certainly with Brad, a very like-minded retailer as myself.
Absolutely. And I hope to see Brad on the Cigar Authority and you diving in deeper to this conversation, because I think a lot of manufacturers would benefit from hearing not just the media side, but the retailer side. Absolutely. And I think you and Brad epitomize that immensely, with you being, in my opinion, the grandfather of cigar shows, and Brad being the social media guy that he is. I think it would be a really interesting Cigar Authority show. And I was very grateful to be able to put both of you together on the same show to hear both of your opinions. So, Dave, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I will let you end the show with how people find you and how people buy cigars from you.
You can find where you buy cigars from me at twoguyscigars.com. That's the number 2guyscigars.com. That's our website. We're truly brick and mortar retailers, though. We have an online site. but I'm most proud about our brick and mortar retailers, shops that are in Salem, Seabrook, and Nashua, New Hampshire. That's 30 minutes north of Boston. That's where we started our stores that are there. I'm the host on the Cigar Authority podcast, 14 years of doing that. That's on live every Saturday at 12 noon. You can catch it on every podcast or YouTube or whatever it is. In our case, there's nothing to look at, but it's good to listen. It's better to listen to it, as I always say. And we have a live studio audience every week. So we've never actually missed an episode ever. And if Brad would ever come up to New Hampshire, I'd love to have him on. He's got to give me notice in advance to do it, so I could put the show together like you have, obviously, with your questions in advance to have it go on. So I'd love that. I've had some retailers over the years. Jeff from Cornell Cigars in Florida, which was a great episode to have it. I've had cigar media that come on, different people like that, cigar manufacturers. Most of the time we do it by ourselves, but if there's somebody that comes up and lets us know in advance, love to do it, a show based on retailers' perspective, which is what you did here. I love it, and if any retailers are listening in, you should love it too. Love it, listen, and learn. And I'm not saying because it was me, but if you had two retailers and they agreed upon something, there's something that what was said there that's probably pretty accurate when you get a couple of guys. I had no idea what was going on here. There was no prep. There was no nothing.
Nope.
As you saw, I was on the wrong feed to begin sitting there, obviously, and I'm an early guy. I was there 20 minutes early, and I'm like, wow, what's going on?
Well, Dave, thank you so much. And for any retailer that has any questions, I know Dave well enough. I've never met Dave in person, but I know Dave's personality enough that if I'm misspeaking, correct me. If you have any questions or how to do things or would like some assistance, I know that Dave would be more than willing to have that conversation with you and work with you, because the one thing I've noticed about Dave, Brad, and Abe that was supposed to be on the show, Abe DeBabna from Smokin'.
Oh, wow, that would have been great.
Is that the three of these guys will help anybody that is an honest learner of the trade. Yeah. And that is the difference. An honest learner versus a showboater. Yeah. And I know that Dave, Abe, and both Brad would be more than welcome or more than willing to help anybody out, because we're all in for the same goal. We're all in for the goal of cigars. We're all in for the goal of this lifestyle. So, Dave, from the bottom of my heart, you always have a seat at this show. And thank you so much for coming on. And I hope I gave you a show that maybe was different from what you're used to.
It is. It was great. It was great. I enjoyed it myself.
So thank you. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Stick around for a quick sec, Dave. Thank you so much. And to everybody watching the show, until we see you again, smoke what you like, smoke as often as you can, and have a great rest of your week. Bye, everyone. Take care.